What happens when one of radio's most notorious shock jocks confronts Hollywood royalty live on national television? Buckle up, because what you're about to hear is explosive. Meghan Markle walked onto The View expecting a friendly, empowering conversation. What she got instead was Howard Stern, ready to stir chaos. As the lights dimmed and the theme music faded, Whoopi Goldberg welcomed viewers back with her trademark charm. "We're joined today by the one and only Howard Stern," she announced. The audience laughed nervously, sensing that trouble might be coming. "You know me, Whoopi," Howard replied with that infamous smirk. "I'm just here to ask the questions everyone else is too scared to ask." Moments later, Meghan Markle joined the table, radiant and composed in a cream blazer. The host started soft. Questions about her charity work, women's empowerment and media projects. Everything was running smoothly until Howard leaned in. "Meghan, can I ask you something?" he began, voice casual but sharp. The room went quiet. "How do you talk about authenticity and empowerment when your entire public persona is built on criticizing the very family that made you famous?" The silence was deafening. Meghan's smile flickered. "I'm sorry, what are you referring to?" she asked carefully. "Come on, Meghan," Howard pressed. "You've built a career out of playing the victim while profiting off the institution you say mistreated you. That's not empowerment. That's branding." The tension was palpable. Alyssa Farah Griffin tried to interject, but Howard waved her off. "Everyone wants to protect her. Why? She's a public figure making public claims. Let's be real." Meghan's calm began to fray. "Howard, you're mischaracterizing my experiences," she said, her tone measured but tight. "Am I?" he shot back. "You've done interviews, Netflix specials, podcasts, all about your pain. If it was so awful, why keep talking about it? Why stay in the spotlight?" Joy Behar tried to steer things back, but Howard wasn't done. "You talk about mental health struggles from media pressure, which is valid. But here you are again, on TV. Help me understand the logic." Meghan inhaled deeply, trying to regain her composure. "You're simplifying a very complex situation," she said, choosing her words with care. "Then make it simple for us," Howard countered, "because from the outside it looks like you want the fame without the criticism, the spotlight without the scrutiny." The studio audience sat frozen, watching a live television moment that would soon go viral across the world. Howard's tone sharpened as he leaned closer. "So you want the fame and the platform, but none of the scrutiny that comes with it." Sonny Hostin quickly interjected. "Howard, that's unfair. Meghan has every right to speak about how she was treated by the British press." "With all due respect, Sonny," Howard replied coolly. "Every celebrity has issues with the press. It's part of the deal, but most don't spend years doing victory laps about it." The tension in the studio was electric. Cameras zoomed in. The crew knew they were capturing television gold. Meghan's smile had vanished, replaced by a flicker of anger. "Howard," she said tightly, "you're being deliberately provocative and missing the point." "The point of what?" he shot back. "That we should all feel sorry for you because marrying into one of the most famous families on Earth came with downsides? That's not exactly new territory." "Maybe we should take a step back," Sarah Haynes suggested carefully. "No, Sarah," Howard interrupted. "This matters. We live in a time when people are afraid to challenge certain narratives because they'll get labeled or cancelled. But someone needs to say it. The Emperor has no clothes." Meghan blinked in disbelief. "Are you calling me the Emperor without clothes?" "I'm calling you someone who's built a brand around victimhood," Howard said bluntly. "You profit from the very system you claim to despise." The audience was silent, hanging on every word. Whoopi finally intervened. "Howard, maybe let's remember Meghan's here to talk about her charitable work." "Charitable work is great," Howard said, not backing down. But let's be honest. This is about image. Meghan, you've positioned yourself as a champion of women and social justice, but your actions tell another story. Meghan's eyes flashed. And what exactly are you implying? I'm not implying anything, Howard said. I'm stating it. You've weaponized progressive language to deflect criticism. Anyone who questions you gets labeled racist or sexist. That is not true, Meghan protested, her voice rising. I've never used those terms to avoid valid criticism. Howard gave a dry laugh. Come on. Your husband literally went on TV and claimed members of the royal family made racist remarks about your child. Claims that multiple biographers say never happened that way. Howard, maybe focus on something positive, Joy Behar urged, her voice shaky. No, Joy, Howard said firmly. This is the issue. We're too scared to have honest discussions. Meghan, you made serious accusations in your Oprah interview. Claims that people close to the situation have refuted. Are they all lying? Meghan's voice trembled. Those are my lived experiences, Howard. You don't get to tell me what I went through. Howard leaned back, his tone cold but steady. There's a difference between lived experiences and verifiable facts. You said you were denied mental health support, yet palace records reportedly show you were offered it, and declined. That's not perspective. That's contradiction. Sonny jumped in again. Howard, you're being harsh. The royal family has a history of mistreating women who marry in. You're right, Howard said unexpectedly. Diana had real grievances. So did Fergie. But Meghan's situation, different. Diana was trapped. Meghan was there 18 months, with an exit plan from day one. That's not fair, Alyssa Farah Griffin snapped. Just because her experience was shorter doesn't mean it wasn't painful. I'm not denying her pain, Howard said. I'm saying her response has been calculated. Look at the timeline. Secret meetings with biographers. Media deals lined up before she left. That's strategy, not survival. Meghan finally snapped. You have no idea what you're talking about. You weren't there. You don't know what it was like. You're right, Howard replied evenly. I wasn't there. But neither was Oprah. Neither were the journalists you keep giving exclusive interviews to. Yet somehow their version is the truth. Those journalists did their research. Meghan shot back, her voice breaking slightly. Howard's voice was incredulous. Meghan, they interviewed you and your friends. That's not research. That's public relations. Real research means talking to palace staff, reviewing actual records, hearing multiple sides. But you've made sure anyone who might contradict you gets silenced or sued. Sarah Haynes shifted uncomfortably. Howard, I think we're getting into some really sensitive territory here. Sarah, sensitivity is exactly the problem. Howard replied sharply. We've built a culture where certain people are immune from criticism because they wrap themselves in the flag of social justice. But real social justice requires honesty and accountability. Meghan's composure was cracking. Howard, you're attacking me personally, and I don't understand why. I'm not attacking you, Meghan, Howard said, his tone leveling out. I'm critiquing your public behavior. There's a difference. You've made yourself a public figure, inserted yourself into political debates, made serious claims about powerful institutions. That makes you fair game for scrutiny. But the way you're doing it, it's cruel, Meghan said, her voice trembling. Cruel? Howard raised an eyebrow. You know what's cruel? Using your platform to destroy people's reputations without giving them a voice. Your father, your sister, palace staff. They've all been thrown under the bus for your narrative. They don't have Netflix deals to defend themselves. Whoopi tried to step in. I think we need to take a commercial break. No, Whoopi. Meghan interrupted, finding her voice again. I want to respond. Howard, you're making assumptions about my motivations that are completely unfair. Then enlighten me, Howard challenged. What are your motivations? Because from the outside, it looks like you've turned family dysfunction into a career. My motivation, Meghan said, trying to steady her breathing, is to use my platform to help people. Help people do what? Howard pressed. Because it seems the only thing you've helped is the public feels sorry for you. Where's the evidence? Where are the measurable results from all this advocacy you talk about? Joy Behar tried to intervene. Meghan's done a lot of work with charities and organizations. Name one measurable outcome. Howard interrupted. Not photo ops, not press releases. Something that changed because of her advocacy. The silence that followed was unbearable. Meghan opened her mouth, but nothing came out. That's what I thought. Howard said quietly, You've mastered the language of activism without doing the work. You've realized you can generate endless content by talking about problems without ever solving them. That's not true, Meghan finally said. I've worked with numerous organizations on important issues. Working with organizations isn't the same as achieving results. Howard replied, Anyone can give a speech and take photos. What specific policies have changed? What impact have you actually made? Sonny Hostin looked anxiously toward the producers. Maybe we should move on to our next segment. Why? Howard demanded. Because I'm asking questions that don't have good answers. This is the problem. We protect certain people from being challenged because they've positioned themselves as untouchable. Tears began streaming down Meghan's face. Howard, you're being incredibly unfair and hurtful. I'm being direct, Howard said, his tone soft but firm. If that feels unfair, maybe it's because you're not used to being held accountable for your public claims. Meghan's tears seemed to embolden him. And that, right there, is the pattern. The moment anyone asks you a tough question, you cry, claim victimhood, or accuse them of bad motives. I'm crying because you're being cruel, Meghan sobbed. I came here to discuss my charity work, not to be ambushed. Ambushed? Howard's voice rose. These are basic questions any public figure should answer. If accountability feels like an ambush, maybe that says something about how fragile your message really is. Alyssa Farah Griffin finally spoke. Howard, whether you agree with Meghan or not, making a guest cry on live TV isn't professional. Alyssa, professional would be doing actual journalism. Howard fired back, not serving up safe, pre-approved questions. When was the last time anyone on this show challenged a guest with real follow-ups? The studio fell into stunned silence as the cameras kept rolling, capturing every raw second of a live television confrontation that would soon set the internet on fire. Howard's tone was cutting. It's nice that you've forgotten how to be honest. Whoopi's patience snapped. Howard, you're a guest on our show, and you're way out of line. Out of line for what, Whoopi? He shot back. For treating Meghan like any other public figure instead of some fragile flower who can't handle basic scrutiny. He turned back toward Meghan. You want to be taken seriously as an advocate? As an intellectual? Then act like one. Stop hiding behind tears every time someone challenges you. Meghan wiped her eyes, steadying herself. Howard, I don't hide behind anything. I stand by everything I've said and done. Really? Howard leaned forward, voice sharp. So you stand by the claim that you knew nothing about the royal family before marrying Harry? Even though there are social media posts of you talking about Princess Diana and following royal news years before you met him? That's taken out of context. Meghan protested weakly. Out of context? Howard laughed bitterly. Meghan, there are literal posts from your old Instagram discussing royal gossip and Diana tributes. Yet you told Oprah you had no idea what you were getting into. Which version is true? Joy Behar tried to intervene. Howard, I think we've covered this topic enough. No, Joy. Howard interrupted. We haven't. Because this goes to the heart of credibility. If Meghan's willing to lie about something as simple as her prior knowledge of the royals, why should we believe anything else she says? Sonny Hostin stood abruptly. That's enough, Howard. You're calling our guest a liar on live TV. I'm not calling her anything. Howard replied evenly. I'm pointing out inconsistencies in her public statements. If that makes her a liar, that's not my problem. It's hers. Meghan's voice was barely a whisper. I've always been truthful about my experiences. Have you? Howard pressed. Because palace staff tell a very different story. Journalists who covered you before fame tell a different story. Even your own family tells a different story. Are they all lying, or are you? My family has their own agenda, Meghan said defensively. And you don't? Howard shot back. You've made millions telling your version of events. If anyone here has an agenda, it's you. Sarah Haynes's voice broke the tension. Can we please change the subject? Our viewers tuned in for positive stories. Sarah, this is positive, Howard said firmly. Holding public figures accountable is positive. Demanding honesty from people with platforms is positive. What's negative is pretending some people are above criticism because they've perfected the art of victimhood. Something in Meghan shifted. Her eyes flashed. You know what, Howard? You're right. I do have a platform, and I'm going to use it. But unlike you, I'll use it to help people, not tear them down. Help people? Howard scoffed. Your idea of helping people is convincing them they're victims. That's not empowerment. That's poison. You're teaching people to blame everyone else and cash in on their pain. That is not what I do, Meghan said sharply, anger overtaking her tears. Isn't it? Howard challenged. Name one thing you've produced that isn't about how you've been mistreated. One podcast, one interview, one article that doesn't revolve around your suffering. The silence that followed was suffocating. Meghan hesitated, unable to respond. That's what I thought, Howard said quietly. Your entire brand is built on grievance, and you've convinced yourself it's activism. Whoopi slammed her hand on the table. That's it. We're going to commercial. No, Whoopi, Meghan interrupted fiercely. I'm finishing this. She turned to Howard, eyes blazing. You think you know me? You don't. You think you understand my motives? You don't. You're just another shock jock trying to stay relevant by attacking people who actually try to make a difference. Howard smirked. There she is, the real Meghan Markle. Not the victim, not the polished advocate. Just someone who gets nasty when they're challenged. Thanks for finally showing us who you really are. Who I really am? Meghan's voice trembled with fury. I'm someone who's overcome incredible obstacles to build a platform for change. Incredible obstacles? Howard laughed. Meghan, you married a prince. That's not overcoming obstacles. That's winning the lottery. And instead of gratitude, you've spent years complaining about how hard it was. You have no idea what it was like, Meghan said through clenched teeth. You're right, Howard replied coolly. I don't. But I know what it looks like. A person who's never satisfied, who always needs the spotlight, who's turned personal drama into a career. The audience sat in stunned silence, watching a live television moment destined to dominate headlines and ignite a cultural firestorm. Nothing like this had ever happened on daytime television. I think, Meghan said slowly as she rose from her seat, that this interview is over. Sit down, Meghan, Howard said evenly. You wanted to use your platform to help people? Then help them by showing how to handle criticism with grace. Instead of running away the moment things get uncomfortable. Meghan froze mid-movement, torn between walking out and holding her ground. After a tense beat, she lowered herself back into her chair. You're right, she said quietly. I should handle this with grace. She drew a deep breath and looked him squarely in the eye. So let me say this clearly and calmly. You're a bitter, cruel man who tears people down for sport. And the fact that you're doing it to someone who's trying to make the world better says everything about who you are. Howard nodded slowly, almost admiringly. Now we're having an honest conversation. You're right, I am cruel sometimes. I tear people down when I think they deserve it, but at least I'm honest about it. I don't pretend I'm saving the world while I do it." Meghan gave a faint, weary smile. "And that," she said softly, "is the difference between us." The cameras kept rolling as the show abruptly cut to commercial. Howard and Meghan stared across the table, neither willing to look away. The rest of the panel sat frozen, their silence heavy with disbelief. It was, without question, one of the most explosive moments in television history. Raw, unscripted, unforgettable. Meghan Markle had stepped into the fire, and Howard Stern had refused to let her walk out unscathed. So what did you think of this confrontation? Was Howard too harsh? Or was it the accountability every public figure should face? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more moments that shake up daytime TV.